Okay, I'm back, obviously, somewhere else. I ended up finding out that they're shutting off my water, and that's been interesting. So I obviously, stop laundry, stop the dishwasher, relocate. I'm hoping that because this is towards the back of the house, I will get less of the construction noise. I can't promise it'll be perfect, but I I'm hoping. I just didn't really want to break the stride I was on too much, so I'm just gonna try and play. I don't want to make you seasick, but yeah, that's not terrible. Um, so yeah, I'm losing some of the natural lighting that I was already working with. Um, my desk area is directly in the like adjacent to the living room proper, if you could even call it that. It's all one large room that's divided by the pillar where the chimney is. So yeah. Sorry, I know my a little bit crazy in the hair, but we'll get around to it. So last thing I said, I went over my foundations, my base coat joke. Oh, I wanted to show you. There was one other one that I didn't get to show you. This is the Fenty Beauty. Everybody knows about Fenty Beauty right now. Right off the bat, they came out with this absolutely enormous shade range, a shade range that should have existed in plenty of other brands beforehand, and obviously coming along in 2018, and kind of putting everybody else to shame. I want to say it was 45 shades, and since then she's added all kinds of things. So her team has added. I know it's not single-handedly her. Along that same lines, today is the official launch for everybody who was awaiting the House Cosmetics, the Lady Gaga brand. I'm extremely excited for it. I really, really like her. I'm a big fan. And I really enjoy the campaign. I actually, I shared on Twitter, there's like behind the scenes footage of her directing and really engaging with her models, and you can see, just like everything else she's passionate about, you can see that she really put the elbow grease in and is hands-on. It's not just somebody coming along and going, yep, I like this formula, stick my name on it. She's really, bringing it home. So yeah, sorry, Fenty Beauty, this is shade, it's their Pro Filter 110, so this may feature in my Halloween makeup, even though I'm not 1000% sure how it's translating to you, but I am extremely yellow toned, olivey. I don't know how, depending on your contrast and whatever on your end, it's, not gonna matter. But as a result, I've had a particularly difficult time getting the right shade. I think that's something that everybody struggles with, and then once you find it, you really have to lock it in. And then with, maybe you're somebody who gets sun in the summer, and maybe you're just, your shade range as an individual changes. Like, there are plenty of people who like to use darker foundations immediately to start that contouring process, and it's a cream contour underneath a powder contour underneath a, you know, or accentuated by a highlight. And I don't know, I still primarily do the powder contour route. I don't really mess around too much with the cream contouring. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get started. So what I really don't enjoy is with, there's plenty of brands out there who have glass bottles and don't have a pump, and I think that's so rude, because they're assuming, you know, if you're somebody who's professional and does use a palette more regularly or more frequently, that you're like, oh, you know, I have my own pump system, I'll just adapt it to whatever foundation, or they can put it on a palette, thin it out. Well, the average person running around getting ready in the morning, I think it can, excuse me, I think I can speak for everyone, when we say, oh my god, you know, if you're trying to quickly get ready and you are somebody who has to get kids out the door, somebody who has to finish packing lunches for yourself, for your husband, for anybody. I hate to do all the stereotypical stuff, but I feel like that's still a lot of the stuff that does fall on the women to worry about. And I know I can just speak from my personal experience. I know it's true for me. I'm frequently, I mean, our kids get school lunch, but you know, for summer camp and for day trips, it's just, you know, packing 4 or 5 lunch boxes, depending, and it's like, right, you know, he has a lunchbox, she has a lunchbox. Make sure that my partner has a lunchbox if he's on the road for work. I don't want him to have to stop and get fast food. Like, nobody wants to feel like fast food is their only option. If it's something you pick, then, you know, great, good on you. But if you're picking it because, like, I don't know, you know what I mean. It's different when you're, if it's a road trip and it's legitimately the only thing, but if you're running around in the middle of the day, I like to try to make sure he has a protein, try to make sure he isn't forgetting about vegetables entirely. I did pack him a salad yesterday, which he did not eat. He ended up getting sushi because the salad got random and hot in his car. So that's day in the life, right? You can't really anticipate stuff like that. You just have to roll with the punches, and that seems to be in a lot of ways, I think everybody's just rolling with the punches. So I think it's hard to tell just on camera. Did I brought everything else up. I'm hoping I brought my mirror, because that would be a big oh, yes, I did. I don't know what I've been struggling looking into the camera for. So yeah, I won't ever lie, I'm someone who does use a lot of makeup in getting ready. I think part of it is I have been using makeup for so long that, try not to blind you either with the light, but I won't be using this for terribly long. So I grew up with a mom who, nothing against her as a person, but she spent, I kid you not, 2 hours and an hour at the end of the day, first 2 hours of the day, and then like the last 2, or 1, depending, was just always at her armoire and her vanity. So I was like, oh, this is just what people do. Like, everybody, don't leave the house without mascara, or I can't leave the house without, like, for me, I always do mascara and brows. And of the 2 things, I would still prefer to do brows. I just think because I have a definitely heart-shaped face, and for me, brows they're not negotiable. But anyway, so her thing, just from a very young age, I was like, oh, like, she gets ready for work like this, and she gets ready, it's like, didn't matter if it was a weekend or anything, so it was just like, oh, this is part of being professional, this is part of just, like, everyday everything. So I think partly in the same way that you get used to smells, you get used to sounds, you get used to all kinds of things as a human being who's continually exposed to them. And I think as you get more and more accustomed to your regular things, you're less likely to see them. You're like, oh, I always do this, and then you build and build and build, and it's been pointed out a couple times by my partner that I'm always, it's like my way of dressing up, which isn't bad, it's just I frequently end up overdone, and I'm making this video anyway. So I don't usually care too much about being overdone, but I know if I'm somebody, well, I can't say if, I'm somebody who will go above and beyond, and like, this is my regular kind of makeup routine that I'm walking you through. Other than falsies, I don't do falsies every day. I can't say that I'm that person, but like, if I do what a lot of people would consider going out makeup for regular things, then my going out makeup is that times 2, is that times whatever, or when I am doing a costume makeup, it's that much more extravagant. So it's kind of like, if you start, can't believe I'm quoting this, but I watched Bill Burr recently, and he was saying how his anger starts at a 75, and then he ends up, he's doing the 0 to 360, no, excuse me, 0 to whatever, saying how his anger just takes off in sparks, and his wife was making fun of him, and he was like, I've never in my life been at 0. I always start at a 75. Like, I'm always here. And if everybody else is, maybe I'm hanging out with my partner and his friends and I'm the only person wearing makeup, or maybe I'm, you know, going over somebody's house and they're not dolled up, and then they feel like they have to, like I'm, you know, like they don't. I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. Maybe that sparks somebody else like stepping up their game, but for a negative reason. Like, it's not me showing up and flexing, it's just like, this is me, this is my baseline, and just how I am. I am a very creative person, and I like to paint. I was just talking about that with my friend yesterday. I've always enjoyed painting. I've enjoyed making music. I have a guitar sitting to my right over there on the floor. I have to get restrung. I have to, I don't know. So right now with Twitch and with YouTube, part of what my goals are, oh jeez, I'm talking so much, I'm not doing my makeup. It's just reinforcing and reinvigorating that type of creativity. And I am certainly a noob. Certainly always more to learn in terms of video editing. Back to Twitter, I did go through a rant about how as a... I'm wondering if I should turn this spotlight off. A rant about how as a creator I have a brand new appreciation for all of the hard work that goes into people who are professional YouTubers, and specifically, you know, whether or not they do their own editing anymore, it's still, you're spending hours in front of a camera, you're spending hours to try and coordinate filming, you're spending a lot of time and energy, and I don't think people realize how it can take significant amount of time to upload, depending on your file size. It takes a lot of little things that nobody sees, and then to still have, still have people on the other end that are not not appreciative, or sitting there as a creator with a, as an audience member, going, oh, you know, she's nice but she seems this, or she's nice but she has acne, or she's nice but her attitude or her stutter or her lisp or something like that is distracting. And it's like, well, something like that, if you don't have a constructive comment, if it's not, this is going to come off very grade school, but I think the same idea as everybody who's in an office. It's so easy to be an email bully and just say things like, oh, just get it done, like, I don't understand this, or why isn't this done yet, or why isn't this, and you're significantly less likely to have that same conversation if you said it face to face. And stuff like that bothers me personally, professionally. For you to be able to stitch something together out of, you know, heart, soul, interest, and wanting to share it with the world, and then for the world to be like, no thanks, or I don't get it, or, you know, there's just this huge risk. And I feel like a lot of people who just sit around and comment. They're not other creators. They're not people who have even tried to ever make a video. They are just internet trolls. And we're all familiar with that. Whatever your medium is, there's trolls on Facebook. There's trolls everywhere on Facebook. There's, you know, your classic troll on Instagram, your Instagram bots, and all the ugly little in-between things. Let's see. So yeah, we're gonna move on to eyes in just a second. So for me, what I'm learning is for somebody who isn't very talkative always, in real life or in social settings, I'm certainly letting my my words get away with me, and this video is already a little bit longer than I thought it would be. I've said a couple times already that it's not the video I planned on making. I ended up running into webcam issues, which I know I've said already, and made the best of it with my phone, and then upon viewing my phone videos, I realized I really do need the stability of the webcam, and sat and worked on that last night to make sure I would be set up for today, and then so I ended up deleting a lot of the footage that I did have from my phone. Just one thing after another. That's life, kid. And then, yeah, so with construction and relocating, and we're just gonna have to go with, it's all a learning curve right now. I think because of the length of this video, I'm going to be making yet another part. So thank you for hanging in there with me. I really will be getting around to, I think my next one is going to be, my next segment, immediately following this one being posted, is going to be the eye segment for this look. I will go into contouring as well for this look, and then the more dramatic things I mentioned, I'm going to be on my Twitch for once I finish my face. Unless, electricity gets cut out or something like that. We'll see how it goes. Stay tuned.